heal through restorative justice. Communities for a long time that you've never included in any form of the American identity, that has always contributed to our state and to our nation and to Turtle Island, and that we are connected in this space. I ask that you remember that in intention, and most of all prayer, because prayer for us is intention. You have to walk what you say. Our elders rely on you, our people need you, and our future generations will not survive without you here now doing the work. So you are sacred, and your movement here is needed, because movement is sacred. So please remember that today. Every paso means something. The first one will be called Antigua. I'll have my partner introduce it afterwards. The next one will be called Aguila Blanca, and we'll tell you the intention after that one. And the last one will be called Tonanzi. And we will tell you the intention on this. This is meant to heal. This is meant to unite. And most of all, this is meant to reignite our ganas together as community over competition now. And most of all, learn the mistakes from the past all together, allies and accomplices. We need to reimagine our future now, because we're living now, and we're sources of life, and we need to respect nature as our sources of life.
Traditional territories and ancestral homelands to the Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Ute nations. This area specifically, the confluence of the Platte and Cherry Creek Rivers, was the epicenter for trade, information sharing, planning for the future, community, family, and ally building, as well as conducting healing ceremonies for over 45 indigenous nations, including the Lakota, Kiowa, Comanche, Apache, Shoshone, Paiute, Zuni, Hopi, among others. We recognize and acknowledge indigenous people as the original stewards of the land, water, plants, and animals who call this place home. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the United States has worked hard to erase the narrative of indigenous peoples over time. Land acknowledgement statements can help us to remind us of the history, the contribution, and sacrifices Native people have made. We respect the many diverse indigenous people still connected to this land of which we gather. We pay our respects to them and give thanks to all tribal nations and the ancestors of this place. We also want to recognize the community and families, as well as black and brown bodies of Aurora displaced by the creation of this campus for MSU Denver to have a place that we now call home. Thank you.
And I remember he came to my house, his name was Rick Trujillo, and he said, "You have the vigor, you guys have the energy, and I'm running out of time." He didn't tell me anything else. It was a really strange meeting. He dropped off 13 books, including a book signed by Che Guevara. I have no idea where he got it. And a lot of other books for gente and education. And he legitimately told me, take this and bridge it. He was telling me at that time he was going on. I didn't know. He's not the first elder, especially after COVID now, that has done that. I am Diné, Chicana, and Filipina. I am Navajo, as the Spanish called them then, a mix of Mexicana and the Chichimeca tribes, the Tolteca tribes, the Mayan tribes, the Azteca tribes under that empire that came through here. We survived being enslaved through the Genizaros. We made our way up here on one of the oldest intersections from Pueblo on the continent. We have some of the oldest mineral basins aquifers and sacred spaces. And yet we still have places called Mount Evans. We're barely just changing Squaw Mountain now. We still have Kit Carson, and he's responsible for the longest walk of the Navajo. The more I learn, the more I know. And it transcends age. And what he really told me was, the youth has the energy, but the elders know the way. Respect that. That last song was to honor that essence of the Aguilar. That fight to touch the sun. That ability to be proud and honorable. To live humbly to who you are and authentically the medicine you are. So I remind you of that because Rick reminded me of that. The elders here. Deborah Montoya of Corozal reminds me of that. Sharon Dominguez Lopez reminds me of that. Many women in this space, Phyllis Cano reminds me of that. They have all come before, holding an invisible, strong heart. And their strength and their vulnerability is what helped our communities. Our communities were built on these compassion workers. Honor them, be them. Remember that. With the Aguilar.